Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Reserved Investments, and thank you for joining me. Today, we are going to be talking about the insanity, uncertainty, and extreme speculation that has taken the Pokemon market by storm. And we're going to be looking at the interesting dichotomy that exists within this market by studying what's occurring right now on the vintage side of the collectible Pokemon market, as well as what's happening in the modern era frenzy that we find ourselves, because everybody loves Pokemon and there's a lot of bad information out there on YouTube, on collecting forums, on TikTok. There's a lot of individuals that are not analyzing this market properly. And I always tell you guys that, I'm sorry to say this, no collecting category exists in a vacuum, devoid of market fundamentals, devoid of the current macroeconomic environment we find ourselves in. It doesn't work that way. All these markets are kind of intertwined. The only difference is we look at the market participants, which we would call the demographics, and also we can look at pretty much the market cap of a lot of these popular collecting markets at present time. Now, if you guys have been watching this channel for any length of time, you know that the Pokemon market is extremely speculative. It is very new. It is not an established market. It is not by any means a sophisticated or mature market in the antiques and collectibles trade. So I have started to do more videos on Pokemon because I expected some of this madness that we're seeing, especially some of the price volatility in vintage cards, to occur due to what's happening in the overall macroeconomic environment, where the Fed's raising interest rates, where we have inflation still kind of rearing its ugly head, where we have things happening with uncertainty in the overall general economy and the stock market to boot. So I want to do more videos on this because I think it's important, because a lot of these starry-eyed Pokemon collectors, which, to be fair, I'm also a Pokemon collector. I have a foothold into this market as well. Now, again, I'm more on the vintage side. I like to speculate in the modern stuff, but I do tend to gravitate towards the vintage stuff if I'm going to attempt to invest in this stuff long term. And I do hold a small position in certain vintage cards that I do have an emotional attachment to, that I just wanted to put away and just see what's going to happen with that market over the next 10 to 20 years. With that being said, though, there are too many Timmys, Kimmies, and Poindexters playing in this market at present time. There's too many Timmys, Kimmies, and Poindexters that came into this market and do not understand that it is a massive speculative frenzy. And for this market to gain more legs and grow over time, you need to understand that there has to be more collectors that want to come in and buy up a lot of this stuff that is percolating around this community on sites like eBay, Heritage Auctions, Hakes Auctions, that is sitting in bedrooms, attics, cellars, that is just sitting there collecting dust, because everybody right now is hoarding all of this modern era product. So recently, within the past week, I did put out a video about a first edition holofoil Dark Charizard card graded CGC 10 that hit a very high price through Heritage Auctions. As a matter of fact, the price was literally $4,250. Well, I told you guys that this particular individual overpaid substantially for this card, because one just sold on eBay on October 1st. The seller was Probstein123, and it sold for $1,526. So you guys can see, the people that do not know what they are doing, they are overpaying by the thousands of dollars for a lot of these vintage cards because they don't watch Reserved Investments. They don't understand how these markets work. They don't understand the fundamentals that make up a speculative market. These are the same types of discussions and arguments that I get into with Funko Pop collectors, Pez collectors, Beanie Baby collectors, and the like. And I know right now the Pokemon crowd is shouting at me, Sean, you don't understand. Pokemon is not a fad. I understand that, but it's still speculative. The market fundamentals right now are still similar to what happened back with those collecting markets. We are not talking about rare coins. We are not talking about fine art here, but we will be, spoiler alert, in a minute, because Pokemon decided to do a crossover with Van Gogh, and Pokemon collectors being what they are, they stormed the Van Gogh Museum, they left the art intact, they went after the Pokemon cards instead. Now, I am being a little bit facetious there, because obviously, at the Van Gogh Museum, you cannot buy original Van Gogh art, nor could most people watching this video afford to buy original Van Gogh art. More on that in a minute. But we do have to look at this from the perspective that a lot of these individuals operating in this market do not understand how these markets work, both over the short term and over the long term. And that's okay. That's why I do these videos. That's why I write for Antiques and Auction News. Spoiler alert, that's why I offer consulting services. That's why I do what I do, to help educate. And there's a lot of people operating in this market that are already losing a lot of money because they bought into the hype when prices were at all-time highs and they held on to this stuff. When in most cases, the practical approach would have been to selling into the hype, not buying into it. So let's talk next about Pokemon Illustrator cards, because there's a lot of Pokemon collectors that covet Illustrator cards. Now, to be fair, if you were to buy a Pokemon Illustrator card back in 2016, before the insanity ensued with the speculative market, with the coronavirus pandemic, with certain things that played out that pushed a lot of the prices of this vintage stuff into the stratosphere. If you were to want to buy a Pokemon Illustrator card and you had the money and the means, in 2016, you could have done it for literally, in most cases, under $60,000 to $70,000. In fact, there was a Pokemon Illustrator Trainer Promo Hologram card that sold back on November 17th, 2016 through Heritage Auctions. It's graded a PSA 9 for $54,970. Now, I know in all actuality, that's a lot of money to most people. Let's be realistic. It's $55,000 roughly for a Pokemon card back in 2016. And this was kind of on the cusp when Pokemon Go was released. So you could have looked at this auction and said, I don't know, Pokemon's starting to go a little crazy. I'm not going to touch this card. Well, similar card, Pokemon Illustrator Promo card, PSA 9 condition, sold for $840,000 on June 11th, 2022. So this particular card, literally, a Pokemon Illustrator card, went for $55,000 all the way up to $840,000 in just 6 short years. That is a fantastic return on investment, guys. Now, due to the pullback that we're seeing in a lot of these markets, on September 23rd, 2023, literally this year, a Pokemon Illustrator card graded by CGC this time, not PSA, in CGC Gem Mint 10 condition, sold for $495,000. So you could see this market is starting to retrace. Reversion to the mean is real, guys. I'm sorry, Pokemon collectors, you are not immune to the outside forces of what's happening in economics, finance, and business. Your collecting category is not as sacred as a lot of you think it is. So what does all this mean? Well, obviously, we're seeing that the speculators in the vintage market are panicking a bit. Prices are pulling back. Prices are falling on certain things. And for the most part, that market is also behaving a little bit irrationally at present time. Now, on the other end, modern era Pokemon cards are still selling out. There's a frenzy for a lot of these particular products. A lot of the modern era products still have a cult following. There's a lot of people that are out there buying them. They're hoarding them. They're putting them away, thinking that they're going to be worth a lot of money in the future. And in all honesty, some probably will be. Others probably will just be dead inventory. Remember, if that's you, you want to try to invest in these particular products from the modern era. You don't want to take reserved investments advice. This is all I'm going to say to you. You must take the aggregate average rate of return, meaning you don't get to pick and choose. This is what people like to do in the collectibles market. And if they're investing in crypto, if they're investing in individual stocks, they'll come to me and they'll go, you know what, Sean, you don't understand. This stock over here that I bought for $20 a share is up to $60 a share. Do you know what I made on this one stock alone? And what they're not telling you is that they bought 20 other stocks that either went down in value or flatlined, meaning they didn't make any money at all. You have to take the aggregate average. This is why when we talk about finance, some of you guys come to me and go, hey, Sean, give me a good stock tip. You're smart in finance. Buy an S&P 500 index fund. Buy a total stock market index fund. Well, Sean, you're no fun. Why are you telling me to buy an index fund? Because, little Timmy, instead of trying to find the needle in the haystack, just buy the damn haystack. That's what Jack Bogle said when he founded Vanguard. And that's why if you would have bought into an S&P 500 index fund 10, 20, 30 years from now, you would be sitting very pretty today. I assure you, even through all the market chaos, market crashes, I assure you, your S&P 500 index fund never went to zero. It may have dropped in value during the financial crisis, during the corona crash, during some market pullbacks and scares that we've had. But overall, you are up 4 to 5 times your money if you invested in an S&P 500 index fund and just kept it there for the last 10 years alone. You guys need to understand that. When we talk about collectibles, there is no comparison to an S&P 500 index fund or a total stock market index fund. You cannot index the collectibles market. Well, you can. It's very difficult, though. Let's just state that. You cannot buy one item, put it away, and have exposure to a total market or cross-hybrid of markets in the antiques and collectibles trade. Okay? More on that in another video. So let's talk about Van Gogh, because there's an excellent article here that I want to read you, and I'm going to post a link to it below in the video description. This article premiered on ArtNet News. I love ArtNet, and the title of this particular piece is, after its team up with Pokemon, flippers swarm the Van Gogh Museum to snap up merch and pick the gift shop clean. And of course, none of these particular Pokemon collectors have any interest in Van Gogh, for the most case, any other time except when Van Gogh does a crossover with Pokemon collecting. Now, if you don't know who Van Gogh is, very famous artist. His most famous work is probably Starry Night. He did, unfortunately, take his own life at the age of 37. He was stricken with a lot of mental health issues. He cut off his own ear. He had a very sordid history. If you ever want to study an amazing artist, study Van Gogh. It's really going to raise your eyebrows. Let's word it that way. Very interesting artist to study. So I am going to read this particular article for you because it is very interesting. I want you to have my thoughts on this because you're going to see the insanity in the Pokemon market right now. Modern era product is still selling out. It is still being hoarded. And this, in my opinion, is going to have a drastic effect on the value of this stuff going forward. Because remember, guys, the Pokemon Company upped production on a lot of this stuff. Now, a crossover like this, to be fair, is probably a better long-term bet than your average booster box. Your average factory sealed booster box sitting in a closet. If you were to come to me and say, hey, Sean, I'm thinking of getting that, or I have access to get these Pokemon crossover cards that were with Van Gogh Museum, I would tell you, obviously, to go after the limited edition short-run stuff, even though it's pure mass-produced scarcity either way. So let's read this article. This article is dated from September 29th, 2023. And the subtitle is, The Pokemon X Van Gogh Museum Sold Out Online in the First Day. It seemed like an unlikely collaboration. Vincent van Gogh, the Dutch post-impressionist artist whose mental health struggles infamously led to his death by suicide after cutting off his own ear, and Pokemon, the popular Japanese franchise known for its video games, trading card games, and anime television and film series. But an exhibition of artwork reimagining famous Van Gogh paintings to feature Pokemon characters opened yesterday at Amsterdam's Van Gogh Museum, sparking a frenzy both in the in-person gift shop and online. Spoiler alert, it all sold out, and it sold out fast. Footage of packed crowds mobbing the cash register has circulated on social media, where users are accusing museum goers of snapping up the special edition trading cards and other goods in search of lucrative resale opportunities. The entire collection sold out online in less than 24 hours, prompting the Pokemon Company to issue an apology on Twitter. This is really interesting, and they actually post an actual video here that you can click on. Sorry, I think I said clip on. I meant click on. That says, "Scalpers at Van Gogh Museum." Since the initial release of its first Game Boy game in 1996, Pokemon has become a worldwide phenomenon, releasing many popular collectible items that routinely sell for well above their face value. An unopened first edition set of Pokemon cards sold for $408,000 at Heritage Auctions in 2021. Again, during the massive speculative bubble due to the pandemic and the governments of the world giving out free money. Where do you think all that money ended up? Do you honestly think that little Timmy, Kimmy, or Poindexter would attempt to actually pay down debt or invest that money? No! It was spent on insanity. It ended up in cryptocurrency, which is now another massive bubble that pretty much burst. It ended up in modern era pop culture collectibles. It ended up in meme stock, stupid stuff. People do not do wise things with quote unquote free money. You need to understand that, okay? Just look at the amount of lottery winners that end up going bankrupt. It is hilarious. You are aware, most highly intelligent people, most financially established people do not play the lottery. Myself, I don't play the lottery. I do not gamble. It is not for me. The odds are the house always wins if you're at a casino. The lottery odds, if you literally research the odds of winning, it is not even worth it buying a ticket. You might as well stay home and simply invest that money in an S&P 500 index fund, a total stock market index fund, or a well-diversified portfolio. Or hell, even in this case, certain antiques and collectibles that have a good track record. You are better off investing it in those things than attempting to gamble your money away. Visitors to the museum during the run of the show are each entitled to a special Pikachu Pokemon promo card depicting the electric-type Pokemon in the style of an 1887 Van Gogh self-portrait, wearing the same gray felt hat as the artist. And if you can't visit the museum, you could receive the card as a gift with any online purchase of Pokemon crossover Van Gogh museum merchandise. With items reportedly selling out within seconds, the company is hoping to release more of the promotional cards at a future date. The collection also included a plush stuffed animal version of the Pick-a-Portrait, as the card was dubbed, as well as special tote bags, t-shirts, coloring books, and other collectibles, all mass-produced in limited quantities. Wow! Already, eBay has listings for the special edition card selling for as much as $2,439.50. I did not verify that, guys. I'm just reading this article. I'm pretty much just going to take ArtNet News, their word for it, simply because they do a lot of excellent articles on these topics. But you're welcome to go on eBay. You're welcome to verify that amount. You're welcome to see what these listings are going for. Personally, I think this is completely ridiculous. The featured artwork is one of 6 Van Gogh Pokemon mashup paintings created by a trio of artists from the Pokemon Company for the occasion. There's Van Gogh's famous sunflowers with the smiling Sunflora Pokemon at the center of the base, and Self-Portrait as a painter, starring the beagle-like Smeargle, both by, I'm horrible with Japanese names, guys, Tomokazu Komiya. I hope I'm saying that right. Apologies to anybody that is offended. Japanese, obviously, is not my first language. It's really not even my second language, even though I did study it intensively. That being said, I'm not very good with Japanese. The artist So-So painted the Pokemon Snorlax and Munchlax snoozing in the bedroom, and an Eevee inspired by Self-Portrait with straw hat. The Pikachu painting is by Nayao Komuro, who also added a flock of Corviknight to Wheatfield with Crows. So these are all Van Gogh paintings that they pretty much Pokemonized. I hope I can say that word. They pretty much added a Pokemon touch to all of these popular Van Gogh pieces of artwork. It's all a bit silly to be sure, but Van Gogh, of course, was heavily influenced and inspired by Japanese art. That much is true. And the museum hopes this appeal to pop culture will help attract new audiences. Oh, it will, for all the wrong reasons, as they're finding out. The artist wrote to his brother Theo in 1888 that we wouldn't be able to study Japanese art, as it seems to me, without becoming much happier and more cheerful. And it makes us return to nature, despite our education and our work in a world of convention. So that's something that Van Gogh wrote to his brother. There is a strong link between the inspiration behind Pokemon and the inspiration behind some of Vincent Van Gogh's most famous works. With this collaboration, we really hope that we can see children discovering and immersing themselves in the world of art through the incredible works of Van Gogh and Pokemon. And I do give them that much credit, or at least hopefully this will bring a lot of new individuals to at least discover art for the very first time, because I'm going to be honest with you, as much as some of you are probably going to fall in love with some of Van Gogh's paintings, my favorite is, of course, Starry Night. Please understand, you will probably never, ever, ever be able to afford one, because we are talking hundreds of millions of dollars for most of these pieces of art. And in some cases, I honestly believe we're not too far away where I think some of the billionaire class is going to be prepared to pretty much bid into the billions for some of this high-profile art of the modern masters and artists like Monet, artists like certain Picasso pieces, and of course, Van Gogh is also in that category. At press time, the museum had not responded to requests for comments about scalpers reselling Pokemon crossover Van Gogh museum goods at exorbitant prices. The initial visitor demand appears to have prompted a new policy that sales are limited to one piece per product per customer, as reported by the fan site PokeBeach. The museum is yet to add the Van Gogh merchandise to its online store. So this is just another dynamic as to what's happening in the overall Pokemon market. Pokemon collectors are a very dedicated bunch. I respect all of them. I just wish that they would understand how all of these markets in the antiques and collectibles trade, doesn't matter if we're talking about Star Wars, Magic the Gathering, Batman, Superman, comic books, Spider-Man, whatever it is, rare coins, artwork, you guys need to understand how these markets work. And if you want proof of this in action, just go over the prices I just gave you in the beginning of this video for what's happening on the vintage side of Pokemon products, where we had a Pokemon Dark Charizard holo foil card in CGC 10 sell on Heritage for $4,250, only for literally a week later, the same card, same grade, sell for $1,526. Also, study what is happening right now with the Pokemon Illustrator cards. You cannot deny that the pullback in the overall economy, that the pullback in the antiques and collectibles trade has not affected the Pokemon market. It has, guys. So please learn from this. Use caution. If you're looking to add any of these vintage collectibles, I don't care if it's comic books, Pokemon cards, Magic the Gathering, vintage toys, whatever it is, please use caution and please have patience. There is absolutely no reason to overpay for these items at present time. I'm here to tell you, you have years to go before the economy resets, or I should say, gets better to the point where rates start coming down, where we see more of economic opportunity for investing in antiques and collectibles. Let me word it that way. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video.